Jovan Haye.
How you doing?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Thank you for your time. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Jovan Haye, dyslexic, proud dyslexic, retired NFL player, now investor slash businessman, aspiring to be a football coach, and I'm a motivational speaker. I kind of do it all, but at the end of the day, I'm just a normal guy whose brain is a little different than most, but I'm proud of it.
And you have your own book also.
Oh yes, I have my own book. It's called Bigger Than Me, How a Boy Conquered Dyslexia to Play in the NFL. So it's my autobiography.
And how did you discover your dyslexia?
Oh man, it was when I moved from Jamaica and I moved to New Jersey. Teachers were just, they were always concerned about why I was always struggling, in school, and why I was always depressed and down and shy, and they just knew something wasn't right. And my parents, after a while, they realized things weren't right, so we went to go get checked. I was 6, 7, I want to say about 8, and came back after all the testings. They had a severe case of dyslexia, and it didn't help also too that I stuttered, so that really made it even worse. But back then, they really didn't know what it was. It's like, to this day, everybody doesn't always have the right answer. So you could imagine back in the 80s, so. But that's when I was diagnosed with it, and, I've been living with it ever since.
And how did your parents and siblings react to it?
I was tough. My parents just always thought it was just me being disobedient, me not wanting to learn, put extra time in. The common sentences you're supposed to be able to read, why letters are turned backwards, words are turned backwards. So it was stressful because they didn't truly understand it. So it was just, I think for them it was like, have a son who doesn't want to do better. Mm-hmm. And once they found out what it was like, okay, how do we fix it? We tried to hook on phonics, and that didn't work. I went to speech therapists. I went to all kind of educational therapists. Nothing worked. It was tough. So it was really tough for the first couple of years. After being diagnosed with it, it was very tough.
And how did you feel during your childhood and education?
Oh man, I felt awful. I hate to say it, but I felt dumb. I would skip school. I'd be in the class. I was a kid who sat in the back of the class. Didn't want to talk to anyone. You start reading, and then all of a sudden you realize, man, you're struggling. And then it's like, I'm never showing the tears on the outside, but internally, man, I was dying inside. It's big guy, and kids laughing at you because, man, he can't read simple sentences. And it's crazy. Even like now, I'm on top of it, but like when I go read to smaller kids, like elementary, I still read the book before, just so I don't go in there and stumble. So you can imagine now as a full-grown man knowing how to conquer it, but back then, just totally shut down. Shut down. And
how did you experience your dyslexia as a teenager and during your adulthood?
The older I got, when I got to middle school, I was still struggling. But then, sports came along, so I kind of, I've always said that's like it's like a cocoon. It's a happy place. That's when things that I was good at. So, you know, going through like middle school, I always had sports. So like I could struggle during the week and then know, oh man, on the weekends or during the week, I'll struggle during the day, and you know, after school, I know, oh man, I got practice. So that was always a happy place. But then it's the same thing when I got to high school, it was the same thing. But then I've always wanted to go to college, and I knew, hey, you don't have to have the grades to go to college. And honestly, one night, I mean, it's in my book, I went home and, you know, everybody I've talked to, family members, friends, everyone, teachers, and it was like, it finally hit me, like the one person I truly hadn't had a conversation with was, you know, my Lord, you know, Jesus Christ. So it's like, man, I had a conversation, and it was like, I think finally that was like a conversation he was waiting for me to have. And I asked him if he could help me do this. I promise you I'll do better. And I think that's when the light switch turned on. He was like, come. He was waiting for me to come in that door. And I finally came in that door and had that conversation with him. I promise you, it's like the light switch just turned on, and everything just changed, because I knew I had somewhere I wanted to be. And I can't continue using my dyslexia as a way, like, you know, I can't do better. Yes, you can, because you excel at certain things that you enjoy. Just like, you know, dyslexic are certain topics they enjoy, certain things they don't. The things that they do enjoy, they normally excel in those areas. So.
And how did you overcome your dyslexia in your life?
Once again, just being able to pound, you know, being able to, you know, with everything, you know, actually going home and read. And, you know, if I have to, you know, use a little piece of paper to make sure I don't jump down the lines, or I read word for word and use my finger, you know. I think back then you worry about everything what other people say. Like, oh gosh, I don't want to be seen as stupid. So like, no, I'm not going to use little techniques. And I realized, you know what, those other individuals around me, they're not struggling. So I got to find a way to cope with myself. So once I was able to tune everybody else out, I was like, you know what, if the teacher called me out, it takes me 5 minutes to read a paragraph, it's just going to take me 5 minutes to read a paragraph. And there's things like that where it's like, you know what, I needed to worry about me internally, spend extra time, put down the video games, figure it out, read ahead the night before, and words that I struggle with, highlight them, so I know if the teacher calls on me the next day, I know when that word that I'm going to struggle with, you know. It's just like, for instance, you know, I remember back then I was reading a sentence and I was like, blase, blah, blase, redress. And I was like, and the teacher was like, redress? I was like, yeah, redress. And she was like, no, redress. But I was like, oh, whoa, you know, so me, I just read it like redress, you know, just things like that, where back then, you know what, I would ask my parents, hey, how is this spelled? How do you pronounce this? And they'll tell me, so I know, so I start remembering certain words, and when I see it again, I'm not going to make that mistake. But just, you know, being able to hone in, buckle down, and work a little harder. I mean, tell you the truth, and stop using an excuse, because I could have easily used an excuse. Like, my brain is not the same, and I'm going to be labeled as, I didn't want to continue to be labeled, and that's that kid who couldn't make it. And like I said, things turned around. I was able to become an honor roll student and had a 4.5 GPA on a 4.0 scale when I graduated. So, I mean, and I was able to go to Vanderbilt University, which is a very hard, you know, institution. So I was able to overcome it.
And what message do you want to share for the parents of children with dyslexia?
Be patient. Gotta be patient. Be patient with them. You know, unless you're dyslexic, you have no idea what they're going through, even if you're a parent. Like for me, I have kids, I have 3 little girls, and you know, I'm gonna let them be kids and let them be, grow up. But if I see little signs that concern me, you know, it'll stick out more than if you didn't. You know, a lot of people just say, "Oh, my kid's behind the 8 ball," you know, and really, are they? You know, they could be, but we don't know. So you got to be able to be patient with them. You know, always find things that they enjoy. You know, when they're struggling sometimes, and instead of pounding them, say, hey, stop what you're doing. Take 20 minutes. Go do something you enjoy. Do something. Go play the violin, play the piano, go dribble a basket, whatever you want to do. Because I think you keep pounding on them, right? They're already having a hard enough time, and you cannot be the one just, you know, have more weight on your shoulders. So be able to be patient, talk to your kids, you know, take them to, you know, spend that extra money. I know you may not have it, but sometimes just spend extra money. Go find out what's going on, and don't ever say, you know what, it's my kids. It's just it'll something to grow out of, because you don't know. If you see them signs, check on it. Check on it. It may come back. Everything's cool. Things okay. My kids, boom. You know. So.
What advice do you have for the children with dyslexia?
Keep fighting. Keep fighting. You could live a normal life. I mean, I've always said it could be worse. There's kids, there's adults that are living with much worse than dyslexia. So you got to be able to, you know, sometimes take things in perspective and realize it's not as bad as it is. I mean, it's pretty hard to deal with, but being able to just cope and realize you can live a normal life. Some of the greatest minds out there, entrepreneurs, businessmen and women, a lot of them are dyslexic. But then again, you know, I'll tell you, I've always said, it's, you know, people may look at it as a curse. No, it's actually a gift, because it allows me to excel in certain areas. I have to work much harder. I'm a deeper thinker. We're a deeper thinker. You know, those in the dyslexic community, and realize, why would you want, you know, look at it as a positive. Why would you want the same brain as everyone else? You know, you just want, you know, you have a unique brain, and you have a certain set of skills that you could learn from, you know, or attain from being dyslexic. So don't look at it as, you know, as a negative. It's a positive. You know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's 100% light at the end of the tunnel. It's just finding your way to get to that light, you know, and that's the key.
Thanks a lot.
Well,
thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It was great to
Thank you.
meet you.